I'm really happy and excited to have Dave Zale back in here, the man who convinced me to buy Solana at $40, as well as to load up on Bitcoin. I think when we chatted, it was around maybe 40K, and probably a couple of others that you have gotten me into and given me some really good conviction on. So I'd love to start out with you first, maybe a little bit of background as to what you do, what your experiences have been with crypto, and then maybe a couple minutes just on like what your process is, and then we can kind of continue on the speaker panel.
Okay. Well, I actually was working for a financial news website called Money Map Press, and the site in particular is called moneymorning.com. And when I very first started working there, the first month I was there, I actually discovered Bitcoin. It was 2011, and I wrote a story about it. And that's really what got me started. I got so deep into it, as most people who are in crypto probably have the same kind of story. Once you get started, you start going deeper and deeper into it. And I was so fascinated by it that I decided to mine it on my computer for a while. And I mined a few Bitcoin. And from there on, it was just, I started following the crypto world and I started writing more stories for my company. As it went along, at first it was just Bitcoin, and then eventually Ethereum came along, and then all these other coins came along, and now it's exploded into what we have today. Now I'm not exactly working for the company. I recently left them officially, but they've kind of hired me back as a contractor for a new project we're doing called the Alternative Wealth Network. So and that's there's actually the website. It's getting ready to launch this week. The website is up. I don't know if we're officially launched yet. It's supposed to happen one day this week. It's called the alternativewealthdaily.com, and it's going to focus mostly on crypto. There's going to be some other investments as well, but that's where I'm going to be focusing my efforts. I'm going to be writing my stories for them now. And so I guess, Gav, do you want me to talk about sort of what I?
Yeah, what's your research process, right? You're like the way I saw it was you're finding out, for example, when we were first talking, it was when Dogecoin was blowing up. That's when we did our podcast. And I was like, well, how would you even go about writing an article on Dogecoin? And so like what does your research process look like when it comes to, some of these bigger ones like Bitcoin, and then also some of these ones like altcoins?
Right. Well, you really have to look at a lot of the different pieces that go into a crypto. And I actually did a whole story on this like way back, like a year ago. And I kind of broke it down into these different elements. And I think most people who get into crypto kind of figure this out as they go along, because the more you get into it, the more you realize there are certain pieces that are very important you have to pay attention to in order to evaluate whether this crypto is worth anything or not. I guess I'll start out a little bit with, you mentioned Dogecoin, and that one of the things I've noticed about these kind of meme coins, and they have this in common with the meme stocks, is that they may not have a lot of value behind them. There may not be a lot of reasons to buy them when you look at all the pieces together, but they do have one thing, and they have a really, really strong community that's very enthusiastic about them. And that's what drives the price. You can have that. You can have a coin that basically is driven by this one element, the community. And there's a lot of coins out there that what people commonly refer to as shit coins. And it's sort of interesting because even though people who are the kind of veteran crypto people and they're looking for more value and they're looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano and some of those types of coins that have all of the elements in place, you have something like Dogecoin, which goes up anyway. And a lot of these other coins, like Shiba Inu, that has gone up so much lately and has gotten a lot of attention. They're driven almost entirely by the community's enthusiasm. So I was like, even though I was sort of dismissive of those coins as maybe as recently as like 6 months ago, over time I've seen they go up anyway. The only thing I would say about them is that people who are looking for something to invest in, this isn't something like, for example, people say, put your money into Bitcoin and then hodl, and you just wait. And, the predictions years down the road, even though it's over 60,000 now. You can see it going to 100. People see it going to 200,000 or 500,000. But years from now, people are looking at 2025 or 2028 or 2030 for Bitcoin to really reach its full potential. A lot of these other coins, you're going to see a much shorter time span. I think people, once the community gets bored with it, then the price is going to start to go down. It may not crash necessarily, but it's just not going to keep going up anymore. And I think that's where you're going to see happen with, like, Shiba Inu and Dogecoin and there's a whole bunch of these other coins that get a lot of excitement, and they go up really fast. They skyrocket for a while. I just don't think that in the long term, they're a place where you'd want to keep your money. And even if you do dabble in it, I would say if you start to make money and you manage to get lucky and you get a 2x or a 5x or a 10x or a 20x, take money off the table. Even if you leave a little bit in, at least take out what you put in. And maybe I think it's an even better idea to take profit off the table as well, and move on to something else. Yeah, I don't recommend those kinds of coins, but yeah, community is a very powerful driver. So that's the first thing I would mention. Beyond that, when you start looking at, what are the pieces you should really look at? If you're looking for long-term crypto investments, like, you start with something like tokenomics. That's how, first of all, like, how many coins are created? What is the total number of coins that they are ever going to create? We all know Bitcoin, the maximum that will ever be created is 21 million. And so that's a relatively small number in the crypto world. You have some of these, especially some of these shit coins, that will have very large numbers created, where, some of them, it's actually like 1 quintillion or something, where you actually have to count zeros. There's 10 or 12 zeros in there. And that's what keeps those prices low. It's why the prices are well below a penny. They're 0.0000 whatever they are. And I think a lot of rookie crypto investors see those coins and they think, oh, well, if I can buy, millions of these, and if they ever go to a penny or 10 cents or a dollar, I'll be a billionaire. But you're not going to be a billionaire because it would mean that the value of that particular cryptocurrency would have to be more than the value of, like, all of the, global GDP or something. It's like many hundreds of trillions of dollars. It's just not going to happen. And I find that to be a deceptive thing. It's why it's one of the first things you need to look at is the tokenomics, like how many coins they're going to be. The second part of that is how are these coins going to be created? Of course, Bitcoin has been created over the span of time. It started out, all the Bitcoins have been mined gradually over time, and they're continued to be mined until we finally get the last one, like 100 years from now. Most other coins now are not like that. Most of them are pre-mined. They're all created at once. And that's where you have another element of this, in that if they create all of them at once, how many do the developers keep for themselves? You want a lower number. You don't want them having like 30% or something, even 25%. You want it like below like 15, because who's going to profit from it? Sometimes they create the coin, so if the coin goes up in value, they're going to get very wealthy no matter what happens. So you want to see how many of the coins are going into the community. Sometimes they retain them for other reasons to fund the development of the coin. That's not such a bad idea. But you definitely want to look at, and they'll tell you, you go to their website or you look at their white paper, they'll explain it all in there. So that's a good thing to watch out for. Another thing I like to look at is the liquidity of a coin. Sometimes, especially when coins are new, people get excited because they want to get in on the ground floor, but you have to watch for the liquidity. Like, how many of the exchanges carry the coin? How easy is it to buy it? What's the volume like? Will you be able to sell it when you want to sell it? That became a real big problem recently, where we had, what was that name of that coin?
Was it SHIB?
No, it was the Squid Game coin,
Right.
where, like, it came out and all these people got it. The price skyrocketed, but nobody could sell it for a profit. And so people got stuck with it, and then it crashed. So like that's kind of a thing. Like you want to make sure that you have access to the coin that, hopefully in a U.S. based exchange, but even some of the foreign ones, as long as they're big enough that you know they've been around for a while, that you don't want to be going to some exchange where you have to, it's in some foreign country and hardly anybody uses it, and that's the only place you can buy this coin. And yeah, you want to be careful of that. You want to make sure you can not just buy it but be able to sell it when you do want to take your profits out of it. So that's another key thing. Another big one is the utility of the coin, which is, why is this coin created? What's the purpose of it? A lot of these coins are created just for fun. When you have these meme coins, it's like, let's create another dog coin, some dog based coin, or that's, there's no purpose for that. Those are the ones that are driven by community stuff. You want to look at, like, how are people gonna use this thing, and what kind of a roadmap do the developers have for the future of the coin? What is going to be done with it? A really good thing to look at there is Ethereum. Ethereum is used for lots of stuff. The entire, or most of the DeFi world is based on Ethereum now. That's why the gas fees are so high. And you can see, like, that is it's a very strong purpose. There's a lot. That's one of the things that is driving the price of Ethereum, is that so many people are using it for all these different projects. You have all these coins that are built on top of it. The ERC20 coins that are built on it, in addition to all these decentralized finance things, and now NFTs are part of it. It's like one thing after the other is being built on top of Ethereum. You want to see what other projects have stuff like that. What is the reason for this coin? Is it just another crypto, or is there really something behind it? And again, this is a thing where you want to look at the website, the white paper, and find out, what are the developers thinking? What is their plan for the future? Where are they going with this thing? If they don't really have a good explanation for what this is going to be all about, then you might not want to buy that coin. The next thing I like to look at are what kind of advantages the coin might have over other similar coins, because there are so many cryptos. There are literally thousands of them, that you want to see, if a new coin comes along that is similar to an existing coin, well, is it better? Does this coin have a chance as to compete? I look at a coin like Solana, for example, which people compare to Ethereum because it supposedly is a similar kind of coin. It's a platform, people can build on it. And some of the things Solana has going for it is it's a very fast coin that has very low fees, which, when you're comparing this to Ethereum, especially the Ethereum fees, that becomes an advantage. And other things you want to look at is how secure, what's the security like for this coin? How scalable is it, especially if people do start to use it? Is it going to be able to handle a lot more users than it has now if it becomes successful, or is it going to become a victim of its own success? That kind of thing. How, what kind of anonymity is another thing, like ease of use. There's a lot of things people look for in a crypto. You want to see, does this coin do it better than other people, than other coins? The next thing I would look at is the team. You want to look at the developers. In some cases, you will have developers like Polkadot, for example. One of the key developers is Gavin Wood. He was one of the guys who co-founded Ethereum. So you look at that and say, oh, Polkadot, Gavin Wood, this guy is part of Ethereum. He knows what he's doing. There's a lot of cryptos like that have developers who were involved with other coins, that they have a background. You can look up their history. You want to be careful when you look up the site, and these guys are not even using their real names. They're going by like Twitter handles and stuff like that. You want to be more wary of those types of guys. Also, be wary of Russians. As my friend Nick Black, if we ever get him in here in this room, That's one of the things he likes to point out. He doesn't trust when you have too many Russian developers involved. He thinks that's a red flag. So that's something else to watch out for. You want to know who these guys are who are making it.
Yeah.
And then another thing you want to look at is the adoption, which you're not going to know this right away when some of these things are introduced. But especially if a coin has been around for at least a couple years, you can see like how many people are using it. What's the volume like on the exchanges? Are other people adopting it? Are other projects tapping into it? There's a lot of coins that are, especially if they are a platform kind of a coin like Solana or Polkadot, Ethereum, are lots of people, other projects using it. All of those things are indicators that this coin might have some legs, and the price will likely go up over time. Because if it starts to gain traction, the more people adopt it, the more, the bigger the network effects, and the more people are going to adopt it at an even greater rate in the future. And the last thing I would look at would be what kind of backers does the coin have? A lot of times you have a project and they are basically like startup companies, and they actually get funding from venture capitalists. You will see, like, Solana has attracted tens of millions of dollars and not just the amount of money, but who is involved. If Andreessen Horowitz is a big player in the space, if somebody like Andreessen Horowitz is putting money into a project, you want to make sure you take a good look at it, because those guys do their homework and they don't throw their money away. If they think it's worth investing in, then maybe you should too. So that would be my basic overview of the things that I look at.
Love it. Thank you so much, David, for that initial overview, and I'm sure we'll dive more into that. Once again, if anyone is unfamiliar, David is, for me, one of my prominent people that I look to for cryptocurrency analysis. You can go into his website, which is in his bio, and he's got links to a bunch of articles that he's written. I think he's written about 1,000, maybe more than 1,000 articles on crypto. So really a great person to be looking to within this community if that's something that you're interested in. I am having a bit of trouble getting into the block up here. Everyone should see them as a speaker. I am going to talk about some of their tools during this call. Into the Block has a lot of different summaries and signals when it comes to different. Here, I'll bring them up and we'll see. And then Chad, I'll go to you after. But let's see if we can hear Into the Block. Yeah, I just tried to bring them up, but it's glitching for me. Oh, yeah, I can hear you. How's it going? They're having problems hearing anybody when they come up as a speaker.
There we go.
Yeah, so I'm having a little bit of an issue hearing, but I can't speak. So I think that what Dave said makes a lot of sense. What we do Into the Block is try to complement fundamental analysis, and we do that by going deep into on-chain data. And what I mean by this is that we analyze what is happening with the cryptocurrency at the blockchain level. So unlike traditional assets, the thesis that we have at Into the Block is that blockchain contains all the information that you need. We just need smart ways to analyze it. So we do run machine learning models on top of the blockchains and add different data sets. And we are able to create different indicators that present a different overview of what's going on with a crypto asset. So for example, when you go into Bitcoin, if you go to CoinMarketCap, you are going to see price and volume on exchanges. But we go a little bit deeper, and we can tell you, for example, we do a cost-based analysis on all the transactions that happen in Bitcoin. So we are able to determine at which cost those Bitcoins were acquired, and if at the current price, how many addresses are making or losing money. So that is quite important at the moment that you're investing in a crypto asset, because you want to see that the majority of the holders are in a good position. As well, something that we also take into account, and I think this is quite important when you talk about Bitcoin, is the thesis that this is a store of value. So when you take a closer look at the holders composition in Bitcoin, you're gonna find that almost 70% of the addresses that are holding Bitcoin at the moment are holding for more than 1 year. So this shows you, if you start to create a narrative, that these addresses are not only making money, but they are here for the long term. And also, when you look at the capital stack or the ownership composition of an asset, and here I'm talking about Bitcoin, you want to see an asset that is not highly concentrated between a few addresses. And the beauty about Bitcoin is that about 70% of the addresses of the circulating supply is in hands of addresses as a whole, less than that's 0.1% of the circulating supply. So these are all things that we do at Into the Block. So another thing one of the indicators that I like the most, and is to how to track the institutional adoption. So you hear all over the news that MicroStrategy and Tesla are buying Bitcoin. So how do you really track it, and how do you see if there's an impact on the price? Well, the way that we do it is that we track on-chain transactions that are greater than $100,000. So we feel that that is a big enough number to measure these whales or institutional activity. And if you take a closer look and you go into the block, and you go into the large transactions indicator, you're going to see that when the number of these transactions and the volume starts to increase, it's usually correlated with the price. So that is something that is also really cool to see. So just to complement what Dave was saying, not only fundamental analysis is extremely important, but I believe that on-chain analysis helps you understand what to buy, and maybe technical analysis tells you when to buy. So I believe a combination of all these factors allows you to make a better investment decision. Go ahead, Gav.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, for anyone, I recommend people just take a look. Oh, it looks like he disconnected because he's not able to hear, unfortunately, when he's not a speaker. It's some little glitch that's going on. But there's a lot of really cool stuff on the Insta block. So when you go through any initial asset, it will show you things like how many people are currently making money at the price that it's at. So I'm on Bitcoin right now, and it's about 99% of holders, as you can imagine, are making money at the current price of 63,350. And then it'll show you concentration by large holders. And they also have really easy explanations as to what this means. So they'll do things like the total holdings of, whales. So essentially, like, do they hold more than 1%? They have price correlation with Bitcoin. So if you're looking at other coins, and then I thought it was that really interested point about, how long people have held. Transactions greater than 100K, transaction demographics, total exchanges inflows. And then they actually have like a whole part of like predictions, and it'll kind of give predictions on like I think it's like a 5 to 15 minute basis, something along those lines. But yeah, there's a lot going on there with a lot of different opportunities. So I appreciate them being in here, and we'll dive a little bit more into the block. But Chad, I want to throw it, or Duke, I want to throw it over to you to hear. I know you have a process. I'm sure you get pitched a lot of different coins, and you've worked for a cryptocurrency company as well. So I'd love to hear your process for analyzing cryptos.
Yeah, so this kind of process was developed in collaboration with one of my colleagues, whose job title is basically just moonshot analyst, or just kind of on the up and up analyst. Really, he's looking for potential coins that the exchange wants to reach out and list, and so he does a few things. So to first really start, he starts out with kind of like a sniff test, and this really just goes into quickly. He'll start with maybe 10 to 20 coins that he thinks could have some potential. And the sniff test really starts with just looking at the Discord, Telegram, the Twitter, seeing if they're active. Like you can find out a lot in like less than 5 minutes about a project just by going into the Telegram, or if they don't have that, the Discord, whatever they have. Usually they have at least one of those, and you can find out a lot. You can see on some of the comments on their posts on Twitter are a lot of people saying it's a scam. You can find out a lot in a little bit of time for that. So that's really the first sniff test. Then he tries to reach out to some people on the team through those channels. Looks to get more info. Then looking at the website. The website's pretty key. The roadmap, the tokenomics, and then also very key is the team. Like, do they really have experience in what they're doing currently, and then maybe potentially wanting to build? And obviously, you can build out the team over time, but is there some initial experience that's a little bit more exciting? Then, if all that checks out, with a lot of the previous stuff I just mentioned, him and I built an Excel model that takes a lot of the stuff into a lot of the previous stuff into account. So there's weightings on a lot of this stuff. So like we'll rate and weight a lot of the stuff in the previous stuff. So on the tokenomics, the team will give certain ratings if we think there's something more exceptional there. And then if all that really checks out, the Excel model maybe pumps out something that's a little bit more positive. Then we'll start looking at the charts, the current competitors, seeing if the current competitors. So like if it's something like similar to Solana, is there something that's really different than Solana, or is it really similar, right? Like, but at the same time, even if it is similar, it's clear that there's some TAM when you're looking at Solana's current price, arguably current trajectory. So even if it is super similar, there's still potential there. Again, looking at the charts, the competitors, seeing how far the competitors are ahead, and then how maybe that team expects to approach the certain problem differently. And then also more recently, he started to scout, and this is something obviously, Gav, you know well, which is spaces. Spaces have been kind of key for some projects, and so he's been looking at certain spaces to see if they're getting maybe an abnormal amount of listeners compared to following, or just overall metrics. Like, are they getting 100 plus to 200 plus viewers if they only have a couple thousand followers? Like stuff like that, little things that show signs of positivity. And so that's really the process. It's really like three parts: the sniff test, the initial stuff, and all this stuff you can really find on CoinMarketCap. And then trying to reach out to the team, the roadmap, tokenomics, etc., the Excel model, and then looking at the chart and competitors. And then more recently, as Twitter has obviously developed, spaces. So that's really the process.
Love it, Duke. Appreciate you outlining that 3-step process, and it's clear that you've put a lot of effort into it, especially with the model that you've created. Just thinking a little bit further into that, are there any cryptos, at the moment, I guess, that stick out to you as relatively sound based on your model?
So I won't speak to anything that has been output on the model, just because that's kind of proprietary with basically him and also the company. Just because I really don't know if there's people in the audience that are also similar employees like myself or like him, and obviously they're trying to get the jump and get as much volume on their platform as possible. But I won't speak on that, but what I will say is that there isn't like an overweight or like an overbearing, like almost like understanding and like taking into account the model. Like I would say it's a small part of the overall process. I think it helps, but like if it doesn't take into account a lot of the metrics on like Discord and Telegram, like those are extremely hard to really measure and give any weightings to. So if a lot of this stuff in the previous metrics looks great, like the team and everything like that, looks great, and then you put it into the Excel model and it doesn't output something maybe you were more so expecting, I would say looking at where the team is currently on their project, as well as like what's going on their Twitter and how active they are, it potentially gets more weighting than really the Excel model. So I wouldn't say like doing more TA and in-depth Excel modeling should be maybe someone's exact like answer to finding newer coins. I think it helps. it certainly helps in the process, but I don't think it's the end all be all. Maybe someone has something different and they've been able to really, I don't know, take all that data into account and then output something that's much more accurate. But I think it's extremely hard to do that.
Yeah, yeah, I totally hear what you're saying there, and that makes sense. Plus, there is a lot of data. As we've seen, there's data, that's external. So what we've talked about and heard from more like Dave and Duke, where they're talking about the community aspect and discussing, measuring social media impressions and spaces and things like that. And then we have the other side where Into the Block comes in with really, the blockchain analysis, which also Into the Block does do social sentiment analysis on crypto. They have it for I think like Twitter, and I saw for Telegram and for some others. So you can see that on there as well. But they really do focus on that, actual blockchain analysis. And real quick, if you're enjoying this and if you are a crypto fan or you're someone who wants to learn more about crypto, again, this panel is just some of the people that I look to for a lot of my education. Dave, Duke, Bill, Brennan, like these are definitely people that have strong understanding. Specifically, I've done podcasts with Dave, 2 podcasts. You can see them. And for anyone who's not familiar with myself, I'm hosting more from here now. But I'm Golf Blacksburg. I run the Wolf account, so you can see the Wolf account's co-hosting. I do about 20 hours of spaces a week covering every major investing topic from NFTs and crypto to technical and fundamental analysis and everything in between. So yeah, if you enjoy spaces, like I stated, I'm just going to be doing more of them on this account throughout the week. I spent like laborious hours getting the Wolf account to 30K. I'd love to build up this account and build some relationships. And also I can post more openly about what I'm personally trading on this account as well. So if you like trading, I trade a lot of options. I trade a lot of crypto and different things like that. So I'd love to interact with more people on this account as well. But definitely make sure you're following these speakers who took this time out of their day. All right, Bill, I want to go to you for some comments and just understand maybe for you. I think that you've gone very to the NFT side of things. I'm sure you're in crypto as well. How do you go about analyzing the crypto if you're going to make a decision to buy or sell?
Yeah, so basically, I have a really, really simple strategy. So I look for new layer one chains, kind of like Solana, and then obviously everybody here has heard of Ethereum, Harmony, Luna, and basically there are new projects that have come out on them almost weekly, sometimes daily for some of the bigger chains. And I kind of look to see what's getting traction on Twitter and Reddit, and kind of check to see in some of my Discord groups that who is buying what, and you always have friends that you can reach out to that are kind of in the weeds into these specific chains, and I kind of make my buying decision based off basically social sentiment on new projects, and it's worked out so far. In big time in the 2017 cycle, with a little bit less success in this cycle just because there's so many more new projects, but it's a strategy that I've just gone back to time and time again, and I don't see it really stopping until the next bear market.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting take on it. I definitely understand the social side of things. Are there specific cryptos which you lean towards?
I'm not gonna pump any specific targets, but if you dig into chains like AVAX and Harmony, I think there are projects there that have potential. You've seen like Time and Ohm. Those are some of the bigger ones that have come out in the last few months that have gotten a lot of traction, at least on the social sentiment side. But as for other projects, like it is kind of like a daily thing. I'm not in any of these projects for super long term. I'm literally just trying to get a trade out of them. So I would say as long as you keep your ear close to the ground, on Twitter, you'll be able to find them. People are talking about them all the time after they buy them.
Cool, man. Awesome. I appreciate that. And Brendan, I wanted to run to you for comments on, how your process works.
I was gonna just touch on like almost similar to what Duke was saying, how like Excel model. The only comment I wanted to add to that was that it's really mostly about the model that you're building. You know what I mean? More so than it is your strategy, let's say, in Excel. So I myself, like, I used to be an Excel fan. I used to be doing most of my models in Excel, but I've over the years like learned software engineering, right? And there's a lot of languages like Python and some scripts that you could find like through GitHub that are basically like analyzing trackers, sentiment tracking tools. There are just certainly several. So I've been like playing around and toying around with how I can integrate a few of those together to kind of like giving me alerts on kind of the social sentiment side, like you were explaining, the community aspect that isn't really, actually applicable for an Excel model, but a way to, receive some sort of sentiment analysis as well, which I've been doing through Python. So that's just what I want to add. That there's certainly tons of resources out there for analyzing those community aspects.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Brendan. All right, I'm going to go back to Dave for a couple more questions and then probably get into the block back up here after that. And then we'll only go till around 5. I'm just having this as a 1 hour. This is kind of more of an introductory space. I think we've covered some really good stuff when it comes to analyzing crypto. And then I just do have to run later because I'm going to be on the move. But with that being said, Dave, going back to you, I wanted to follow up on what you were talking about earlier and maybe just see if we could give a few more specific examples on, I guess, practicing risk management, I think would be a great, because I think when it comes to crypto, there's a very large risk reward ratio and trade-off where some of these cryptos, I mean, I saw crypto run 320,000% today. I think it was called like Doge Worldwide or something, something like that. I don't know. Me and Duke were talking about it, and like to see something run like that, but then on the other hand, you had the Squid Games crypto, which went down 99.99% in one day, is pretty amazing to see the trade-off between those two. So I'm curious from your perspective, how can people practice proper risk management? When people are doing it with stocks, I talk about using a stop loss. I talk about using, a small percentage of your portfolio. I just wanted to hear from you kind of what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, well, it's you have a lot more tools in the stock world to do that kind of thing, but setting stop losses and stuff like that. A lot of the places where you buy and sell crypto, you can't, you don't have as some of them have, but then it depends on the coin, if you can only trade the coin on certain exchanges that don't have as many tools, you're kind of stuck with it. But I think the best way to deal with that is, first of all, try to avoid jumping on these things that come out of nowhere, like the Squid Game thing. It's like that just kind of came out of nowhere and blew up almost immediately. And I'm sure there were people who jumped on it because they thought they were going to get in early. It's like you kind of need to resist that temptation. That alone will limit a certain amount of your risk exposure. But I think beyond that, when like I said, you can still make money on some of these crazy meme coins and stuff, and even just like other cryptos in general. But I think you need to sort of set a plan ahead of time. Like I said, you don't know, you might get 2x or 5x or 10x. But what you have to do is decide when it gets to this amount. If I make this much money, then I'm going to sell this much. You sort of have to strategize ahead of time and then have the discipline to stick to it. Instead of just kind of sitting there and holding on to it and waiting to see what's going to happen. So many people watch these coins go up in value, and then I guess they think that's just going to keep going up. That happens in the stock world too. And they forget, like, you also have to have a plan for selling. It's not just buying and holding forever. If you're ever going to make money, you have to have a plan to sell. And that's true of all kinds of investing. So I do think that you need to kind of set a target when you're buying the stuff and be like, if I get this much, then here's what I'm going to do. It's like, you may want to sell all of it. You may want to sell half of it. You may, sell 20% of it, but have a plan. And then you may have a sort of a ladder that you say, well, if I get to this point, I'll sell 20%. And then if it goes up another, 2x or 3x, then I'm going to sell this much of it. That way you can stay in it if you feel like it's going to keep going, but at the same time, you're taking some money off the table as you go along. And that way, if some point the whole thing crashes, you're like, well, okay, fine, but I still made some money out of it. That way you're not eating a total loss.
Absolutely. Always recommending people to take out that initial investment. It's best to be riding with house money on these, right? If something spikes immediately, let's say you put in, I know people that own 1,000 ship coin, or no, a billion ship coin, and they've only put in a few grand to start off with, maybe 1,000, $5,000, whatever it is. And they've made significant amount of money. So my advice to them is at least take out your 5 grand, at least take out 10 grand right off the bat. Like, get that money out there so you aren't taking a loss. The last thing you want to have is your gains turn into losses, which is like the most common thing that happens with options. People go up 10, 15, 20%, because I see crypto very similar to options, with the volatility, and sometimes, more difficulty of research and stuff like that. So absolutely agree with you there. Now, Dave, I know that your partner has not made it into here, but I know that you guys have the launch coming up with, the new business. I mean, the new letter, I guess, that you're working on. Can we get a little bit of info around that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's called Alternative Wealth Daily. So the concept behind it is because we're basically a stock investing, and of course we got some guys who are really big on options, but it's mostly stocks and options has been our bread and butter for many years at Money Map Press. And so this new thing is focused on alternative wealth investments, and obviously crypto is going to be the major component there, but it's also going to do precious metals, and if they can do it there, maybe they'll dabble in some other things like like artwork or something. But that's like we could very well have the intersection of the crypto and the artwork with the NFT element, which my coworker Nick he actually is heavily into that stuff. He knows a lot more about that than I do. He's actually been buying and selling a lot of NFTs, and that may be part of this thing as well. So that's really the idea behind it, is to help people make money with alternative investing. Be that crypto or any of these other things, and there's sort of an educational component to it. We're trying to explain some of these things because we know right now there's really, of all the people, all the potential investors, only a small percentage of those people have even played around with investing in crypto. So there's a whole lot more people who I think are considering it, but I think they might be a little intimidated by it. I think one of the ideas behind this thing is to kind of reach out to that group, since we're already, we have a large number of people who are in, stock market and options investors, and say, like, here's something else you can do. We're going to explain it to you, and then we're going to tell you how to make money from it. And that's sort of the basic idea behind it.
Awesome. Yeah, I would definitely be on the lookout for that as it comes out. Now I'm going to go back into the block in just a second, but I just want to take a minute. So if you are enjoying these spaces, I make it pretty easy for people to find when these spaces are. So if you're familiar with Twitter Spaces, they allow you to put out one reminder tweet ahead of time. And that's kind of like that click thing that you might have seen with RSVP. Because I do about 10 to 14 spaces a week, I build out a full schedule and I upload that onto Google Calendar. So if you want to just see all the spaces on your calendar really easy and not have to worry about when's this one going to happen, because we just hit on NFTs. Well, I'm doing a full NFT space on Thursday at 1 p.m., but it's hard to let people know ahead of time. So if you want it, just send me your email. Just say you want to be added on to the calendar, and I would be happy to go ahead and put you onto that free Google Calendar. There's over 350 people on it now that are regularly seeing the spaces, and you can toggle it on and off. And then in addition to that, I have a newsletter as well, which focuses on all areas of finance. And if you want that, just feel free to add that in the DM. But again, I'll happy to add you to that today. Everything's free and nobody sees your information. With that being said, into the block. Also, shout out Sarge. Appreciate you hopping in. If you want to talk some crypto, feel free to come up. I also would love to get into the block back up here if we can. I want to give them a couple of minutes just to share anything else that's kind of come to from the process that we've been discussing, because I'm really fascinated by the idea of doing the on blockchain analysis, because I've been super into social sentiment for a long time now. Having really, that's the way that I started the Wolf account, was based off of social sentiment, off discussing it in spaces, of talking about opportunities. And now we're seeing that become a bigger factor. When you look at things like ChatterQuant, when you look at other social sentiment analyzers, they're gaining multiple, more traction. I know they're pulling in big money, and this should be done for crypto as well. So now some of them are building in tools for crypto. where they're giving themselves abilities to say, all right, what is that social sentiment like, using natural language processing so we can get an understanding. And I think that the perfect mix here is taking that and crossing it over with the actual on blockchain analysis that can be done. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't look like I can get the into the block account back up here. So I'm, grateful for them for taking this time to show some tools. Oh, I'll also mention, so they should be one of the top listeners on your screen. They have a good amount of followers. They do a free 7-day trial as well with no credit card. So if you do want to try it out, they do that as well. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
So at Into the Block, we are not the biggest fans of social sentiment, and the reason for that is that we don't really believe that there's a fundamental factor at the moment of investing, even though there are cases such as Shiba or any of these low cap coins that indeed they are driven by hype. But into the blog, given that some of our partners have requested us that information in the past, we do measure like the Twitter sentiment. So we have machine learning models that are tracking constantly. For example, if you go to Ethereum, you can see if the connotation of the message either in Telegram or in Twitter is positive or negative. We also track the GitHub commitments, which is highly important at the moment that you're investing in an asset, because you want to see that the developers are continuously working on the project. So we also give you a tool for that. You can also see the Google search trends to see if the level of popularity in Google is increasing or not. And we do have an interesting tool that is called News Key Topics. So what we do is that on any given day, we analyze which are the words that came out the most when you're talking about Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or Cardano. And you're able to click on any given day, for example. So it's like a chart, right? So if Bitcoin increased by 4%, you can see that some of the words that came out the most are like metrics or value, and when you click on the word, it would redirect you to the article itself. So it's a great way to analyze what is happening on any given day. But not only we do on-chain analysis for these large crypto assets. So if you're into DeFi, one of the things that we do the best is that we have actually partnered with some of these great protocols such as SushiSwap or Uniswap or Curve Finance, and we build the analytics for them. So let's just say that you want to provide liquidity um, on any asset. We can give you a breakdown of any of the pairs that are trading at SushiSwap or Uniswap. So just to clarify, we do have a lot of tools. On-chain analytics is fantastic to give you a great overview of what's going on with a crypto asset. You can also complement it because we do have like order book data, and we have derivatives data, which is highly important. We measure, for example, how much money is flowing in and out of the exchanges. So you can build your own narrative, and we do create a lot of content. So if you go to our Twitter account, which is at Into the Block, or if you follow us in Medium as well, we're constantly teaching you guys how to use the Into the Block tools. And as Gav mentioned, we do have a 7-day free trial in which you can access to all the tools, and also it only costs $10 a month. So we feel it's very affordable for any that is looking to get into crypto and learn a little bit deeper of what's going on with a crypto asset. Thank you, Gav.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on here, Daniel. That's there. head of marketing, and also deals with a lot of onboarding for Into the Block. So it was great having him on here. Okay, just going to move into some closing remarks and just, any other advice or takeaways for the audience. I always feel like this is kind of the powerful time to make your point. So Duke, would love to hear from you first. Any other thoughts or advice on this topic?
No, not too much more. I would just say, be careful. Obviously, we had just yesterday that pretty horrible rug on that Squid Games token. Just seriously be careful. I mean, a lot of this stuff, look into deeply, like I said, with that 3-part process. Like, I feel like if you're not doing something like that and you expect to make, 10 to 1,000x risk free, you're probably kidding yourself. So just be seriously careful about a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of scams. There's a lot of scam tokens. There's a lot of people trying to get you to send them your tokens, like just stuff like that. Just be seriously careful. It's still the Wild West, and yeah, just be careful.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. All right, Layla, you came up. Did you have any comments you want to give?
Hi, Gav. Thank you for that. Actually, so disclaimer, I am a reporter. I'm an investing reporter. I cover a lot of crypto. And right now I'm working on a bit of a pileup for a beginner's guide to technical analysis. So if there happens to be maybe any advanced technical analysts that love to chart crypto in the audience, please send me a message. I'd love to consider you and add you to, the influencers and their top pick for technical analyst tools.
Yeah, if you need some help with that, feel free to DM me. I have some connections. We can chat that over.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Brendan.
I just wanted to say, make sure everyone definitely gives, the panelists up here a follow. If you're interested, certainly in crypto or trying to find more information about techniques. Everyone up here definitely does a great job. I just want to say thank you, Gab, for hosting these spaces as you always do. Really, really informative and really helpful. For myself, I just also think that, the last thing that Duke mentioned, definitely something I would be aware of. Pay attention and try and be careful. Definitely stay aware, look around, reach out to other people for some insight, and definitely I wouldn't say jump on any coins that you haven't done your own research on.
100%. Bill?
Yeah, hey, I just wanted to say thanks, Wolf, for hosting the space, man. Follow up on Chad. Be very, very careful. Crypto is the Wild West. You are not going to succeed buying Shiba Inu Doge Elon coin. It's not a safe investment. Be very aware of who you're following on Twitter. And hope you guys succeed.
Absolutely. Also, what's up, Keith? See you in the audience. Hope everything's going good, my friend. We'll be on a space on Thursday chatting NFTs. Okay, David, coming to you for any closing remarks or advice on the topic.
Yeah, and I was going to add my voice to what all the other guys have said, that is to be very careful out there. It is a very dangerous place, and you see a lot of people on Twitter, just regular folks, who are complaining about, oh my God, I lost all this money, and I hate to see that, because crypto should be a place where people can make money. I mean, you can make life-changing money if you know what you're doing, and that's kind of the whole reason you're doing this. And I want to thank you for doing spaces like this, because I think it's a real need for it. People need to hear this stuff instead of just kind of jumping into these coins willy-nilly. I would say too, in that, especially if people are kind of starting out in crypto and it seems very overwhelming, but they want to do something, they want to put some money into it, it's you usually can't go wrong by focusing just on the big established cryptos like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano and some of the other, Polkadot, some of the projects that are kind of acknowledged that they're, major projects, and they're not going to disappear overnight. They have well-known people. If people just wanted and start out doing just a little bit, like you see people say they've they've taken all the money they have out of the bank and they put it into some crazy crypto. It's like, no, don't do that. You don't even do that with projects. Figure out, like, I'm only going to take 5% or 10% of it. Just, you start out small, and then as you learn, you can build yourself up. It's like, I think a lot of people that they see these numbers, they see these coins going up and skyrocketing, and they want to get in on it. So they're like, the more money I put in, the more money I make. And it's kind of an irrational exuberance, I guess, to borrow an old phrase. You somehow have to avoid doing that, as tempting as it may be, because that's the way to lose all your money and not build wealth over time, which is what you really want to do.
100% echo those sentiments. Cool. So just on my end, a couple of things I just want to let the listeners know about is, if you're interested in topics like crypto, I'm going to be trying to hold a crypto space every week or every other week. I think it's a fascinating segment, and I'd love to speak on more of these spaces and have on really educated speakers who can come in and bring their wealth of knowledge to us for free in a public setting. In addition to that, I'm going to have a series of other spaces. I have three spaces tomorrow. One at 3 p.m. EST with the Street account. They have 800,000 followers. It's a great account. We're going to be discussing the markets and earnings on that. And then at 6:45 p.m., I'm going to have a technical analysis space with Brian Shannon, the creator of Anchor VWAP, Jake Wojastik, who runs the TrendSpider account, and Richard Moglen, as well as exclusive trading. And then at 8:15 p.m. EST tomorrow, I'll have a market psychology space. And that will focus on keeping your mind right when you're trading and how to avoid having, paper hands and whatever else you want to call them, but having conviction in your plays and just being healthy with your trading styles. And that's just for tomorrow. Like I said, I have an NFT one on Thursday, as well as a unusual whales following the flow space, and then 2 more on Friday. So look out for me to be on spaces for probably like half of the day of the next 3 days. I love doing it. I'm honored that I get to be on here, and if that's something you're interested in, listen, would love to have you join up and throw a follow my way, as well as the Wolf account. That would be amazing, and make sure to be following the speakers. But yeah, thank you to the listeners. We had 250 people that tunes in for about an hour here. So I'm so grateful that there's a really avid crypto community, and we'll be chatting with you soon. And if you have questions on this crypto topic, feel free to DM some of my speakers. I think most of their DMs are open, and they're the places that I've gone to learn and great people to build relationships with. All right, everybody, take care. Have a great rest of your evening.